Okay, welcome back, everybody, to Streets and Eats. Today we've got Morgan Fielder and her daughter Sage. They have found their passion hiking hut to hut in the Alps and around the Mediterranean. And we're just going to pick their brains and find out how to get into that sort of thing and what kind of adventures we can find along the way.
And what kind of great food they've eaten.
Welcome to Streets and Eats, the travel and food podcast dedicated to taking our listeners to the sights, sounds, and flavors of fascinating places near and far, both on and off the beaten path. We're Jim and Corinne Vale, and we've been traveling internationally and domestically together for decades, visiting more than 90 countries and all 50 states in the USA. We'll share all of the local knowledge and food expertise we've gathered through years of living as expats in Asia and Europe, as well as traveling with families spanning multiple generations around the world. Join us each week for a new adventure. So welcome, Morgan, and welcome, Sage. I guess to get started, when did you first find out about this hut-to-hut hiking? I don't think everybody knows about that sort of thing in Europe.
Do you want to tell the story?
I have no idea what the story is.
Frau Fressel.
Oh, yes.
It's Frau Fressel.
My elementary teacher, she was the best teacher ever. She was super nice. But she told my mom about hiking in Italy, like hut to hut with the wine and like beautiful views. You were really interested. When did she tell you? At the reading fair, right? When I was in second grade.
In the Lesewettbewerb.
Yeah. And
yeah, I didn't speak very much German and she doesn't speak very much English, but it definitely got across that you can do this amazing experience. And she was probably in her 60s.
Oh, wow.
And it was, to me, I grew up in Idaho and, that American style of like, when you go hiking, it's hard and it's taxing and gritty. And she's telling this story about how you get to the top and then you walk along the top for, 10, 15 kilometers a day. And every time you don't have to carry a lot of stuff because you stay in this beautiful hut on the top of the mountain that makes you like 3-course dinners, and they have beds there and they make breakfast in the morning, and you just have to carry a little bit of stuff and then you go to the next one and then the next one. And yeah, that got my attention quick.
I was going to say, that sounds like my kind of hiking.
Yeah, it's accessible, but I couldn't figure it out. We just had some other trips planned because we were going back to the United States for summer break or whatnot. And I had called a few places that were like tour agents for it, but they wanted 600 or 700 euros just to give me the plan. And I thought, holy cow, that's a lot. Plus, you have to pay for the hut and the food or whatnot. So I finally figured out how to, like, where it started, like some of the popular ones, and then went down the blog sphere and just kind of eventually figured it out. And we went in 2020 for the first time.
Yeah. So like 4 years later.
Yeah. Life is busy.
It took a while.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we've been to the Dolomites. We think they are some of the most stunning mountains on this earth. And I kind of feel like we missed out because we did road tripping and we got fantastic photos and we ate fantastic food because we found lots of good places. But I think the idea of going hut to hut would be really, really wonderful. Something we'd be definitely into. So darn, doesn't mean we won't go back though.
Definitely go back. It's amazing. Yeah. There's something about like, there's a sense of purpose each day. And granted, it's not like the most difficult thing in the world, but it is challenging. So when you do get to the hut at night, like the food just tastes so much better. That bed is so much more comfortable. And, we go with friends usually, or you make friends with the other people along the path because you generally start at the same place and everyone kind of generally walks in the same direction. So you get into these great conversations and you meet all kinds of people from all over the world. And, it definitely helps that they have good wine up there and really good hot chocolate with fresh whipped cream.
Yeah.
Right.
So what is your favorite thing about it, Sage?
Well, I think my mom and I bonded when we were hiking. The first time we went, we were alone, just you and I. And the second time we went with friends. And the first time I feel like we bonded and we talked and we had like a really great time. Second time was more hectic because there were so many people. But I just think that you can make a lot of like really cool relationships when you go there, when you're hiking together, when you're just like going through the challenges together, you kind of like create a really cool relationship.
I agree.
That's a fantastic answer.
It's really a bonding experience to go through something like that. Mm-hmm. Even though, like you said, it's not super challenging. You're still out there hiking through the Alps and spending the night in huts. And yeah, so definitely it would be a bonding experience. That's really cool.
I can see it now. I mean, I'm a pretty slow hiker. If we all left at the same time, I'd be the one that they're like, is she going to make it? Is she going to make it? Oh, it's dark. Is she going to make it? I can almost hear cheering as I like stumble in at the end of the day.
That definitely happened.
I can imagine.
Yeah, we had it this year. We went, my husband's best friend from, Naval Academy Prep School. So circa 1996, he got married. And so him and his new wife came over for their honeymoon. And then, some other friends came, and one of my girlfriends was not eating enough, I think. And I think it was day 3 on the Alta Via 1. And she came stumbling in, and we all cheered and hugged, and,
there were tears.
There were some tears.
Oh, sure. Oh, that's sweet. But, we used to, actually, I used to be the president of the Volks Marching Club in one of the places we lived in Germany. So I've had plenty of experiences hiking in the mountains, and being in charge of all the people. So being really keen on, who's made it and who are we waiting for. And one time we had a friend whose 70-year-old mother came on a Swiss hike with us, and I asked before we went, I said, are there any really bad hills? Now I'm talking to a Swiss man, and he says, oh no, one little hill up just and down, except for that little hill up was about 10 kilometers of pure, climbing. And she was a 70-year-old woman who had not been hiking in recent times, and it took her, we missed our departure time. It got to the point like I was really getting worried about her. So I totally understand what it's like waiting for that straggler, and I think that I would be that person now, but that's okay. But that's okay. It's still, like you said, it's a bonding experience. Everybody gets into it. Everybody's rooting for you, and in our experience doing those kinds of things, it was the same thing where you would go eat and drink with everybody afterwards. And you do get to meet people from all over. I think are you starting a business for this? People need to do it so that it's easy, Like you said, it's really hard for most people. And to try and call up I was reading part of your blog, and trying to call up each hut would be intimidating, I think, for some people. So other than the people that organize it for you, you pretty much have to do that though yourself, right?
I think most people do use some kind of service where they pay someone to do all that arranging for them. I just wanted to figure it out on my own. And it is, I've made some spreadsheets to stay organized. Let's just say that, because it does require you to call, you need to know how far you can go each day and be reasonable about it, because it is the Alps. It's pretty steep in parts. So the distances are not as far as you'd expect. And you have to make sure that you've got the date right, and then you've got your booking, and that you give yourself enough kilometers to go till your next hut, and then book that one, and then just sort of email back and forth with Google Translate. And then sometimes try to call at certain times, because these are mountain huts and the service is not always that great. So it is logistically challenging. In fact, on the year we went in 2020, I accidentally booked a hut 30 minutes walk from the next hut.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was a big fail, but there was quite a lot of freedom in 2020 because of COVID, and there weren't as many tourists. And the Cinque Torri hut actually let me, because you have to put a deposit down, usually 6 to 9 months in advance. And they actually kept my deposit and rolled it over to 2021. So highly recommend that hut for sure, because that was really cool and I didn't have to do that.
Well, that is good.
So about on average, how many kilometers do you plan per day?
Like, what would you recommend for people? Because, Sage, you were 11 when you first did it, right?
Was I? Or was I 12?
You were 11.
Were you tired at the end of the day?
Some days, yeah, I was really tired. Some days I still had like a lot of energy. But how many kilometers did we do?
We generally did between 12 to 16 kilometers. So not a terrible amount, but
yeah, it didn't feel that long.
Right.
No, some days I wish they were a little bit longer, but it's steep in parts. So the hiking sticks or trekking poles are really handy, because I have bad knees or whatnot. So sometimes it's really nice to have that. And, we planned stops along the way so we could actually enjoy it. Like there's some people who like to hike and just put their head down and go 30 miles, and that's fine. That's cool. That's just not our style. So
yeah.
Mine either. I'm definitely the stop. I might have to take about 50 pictures here and then 10 steps and 50 pictures more. So
yeah,
it would take me a while.
Standard plan. When she's getting tired, she stops to take photos.
Take
good strategy.
I think so. It's been working. So what happens if I'm assuming that these huts have to be on roads because they have to get supplies to them. So what happens if someone gets hurt? Like you were talking about your sister-in-law, but she didn't sound that hurt. She just sounded tired. But what if you twisted an ankle or, I don't know, something else where you were done?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it depends certainly on the hut. So they're usually going to be have some kind of like mountain dirt road to access it, because usually the hut owners, they're mostly all family run businesses and they're, dating back 30, 50, 60, 80 years. But they have a truck, like a 4x4 kind of truck. So you'd be able to, get help from the person owning the hut. There is a lot of like adventure sports in the Dolomites too. So I'm sure there's a pretty rigorous, like helicopter lift kind of rescue
Search
situation.
And rescue type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's various routes. The Alta Via 1 is the most popular and it's the most well-serviced. So some of the huts are quite luxurious actually. And I believe that we haven't done it, but there are, there's the Alta Via 2, 3, and 4, and they get more and more rugged as you go along. So I'm not really sure about the more rugged parts, but I mean, it's the Alps. I feel like there isn't really some place in the Alps that's completely overlooked as far as safety goes, just because people have been skiing here and they're so, hiking for millennia. So.
But have you been to Bolzano?
Mm-mm.
Oh, well,
do you know the
I would
story
say,
of the
have
Iceman?
you heard of Utsi, the Iceman?
Yeah, I learned about him in school.
Well, next time you're in the area, go to Bolzano and go to the museum for Utsi, because it's like a mystery in a museum. But what's cool about it, and the reason I bring it up, is because he was overlooked for many, many years.
Thousands of years.
And he was actually murdered in the Alps long time
by
ago.
Hikers who were hiking, doing hut-to-hut hiking, and happened to go across a path that was not as commonly traveled. And there had been more snowmelt that year. And so they found this mummified corpse that had emerged from the ice. And at first they thought it was like a recent murder because he was so well preserved. But then after doing some research, they found out, no, he's a Neanderthal or post-Neanderthal. And thousands of years ago. But that's a really cool museum in the area. And especially as hikers, you might really enjoy that.
I think you'd really appreciate it. Like I said, it's kind of like a forensics museum in a way, that you get to go through and see all the different things they did and how they reconstructed how he was murdered. And there's a movie in there, and it's just a very cool museum. And you get to see him too. They still have him preserved, and you can look in and see him. It's way cool.
We make a bunch of references to him at school during class.
Do you?
Yeah.
Why is that? Like how?
Like a class mascot in like history and biology.
Well, I think he's well worth being a mascot. It's a pretty cool story.
Yes.
And am I saying his name right? Itzy, or how would you say it?
Etsy.
Itzy. Okay.
Yeah.
Etsy.
It's pretty close.
Well, back to the hiking.
It is.
This is how I feel with German. I'm like, let's see. What?
Etsy.
But it's like that everywhere, no matter how well you think you know the language. I can remember many times when I'm feeling very confident where I am. Most times in Germany, because probably speak German better than any other language. But then I would say something. I'm like, and like a taxi driver would turn around and say, you know, like the same thing I said. I'm like, yeah, that's what I said. And then they're like,
it depends on what part of Germany you're in too, because in the Western Germany, in the Eifel region near like the Bitburg area, they don't really have a really hard K sound.
Well,
It's, you know, the CH and that sound isn't like ich bin. It's more like ich bin. It's kind of almost an SH sound. But then you go somewhere else in Germany and they look at you like, what are you?
like, yeah, we lived in
redneck from the hills or something?
We lived in the far west and the far east, and then we lived in Rhine-Main for a while too. So pretty much right in the center. So we've been all over. And when we moved from Bitburg to Rhine-Main, and I was looking for an apartment, they're like, "Are you French?" No, but thank you. That's better than asking me if I'm American, in my opinion. That guy at least got you thinking I'm European. It was pretty funny.
Okay, so back to the hiking.
Yes.
So like the hikers that found Itzy, they were pretty much alone for most of that day. Are there times when you're hiking with just your party, or do you see a lot of people along like how many people would you see in a normal day of hiking?
Well, 2020, we didn't see a lot of people at all.
Yeah.
There were barely any people. It was really nice and quiet and peaceful. And then 2021, it was pretty mellow as well, but there were definitely a lot more people compared to 2020.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the Alta Via 1 trail is quite popular, so it could get crowded in July and August. Probably August would be really crowded, non-COVID times, because that's the vacation season. But we've met a lot of mountain bikers on like touring trails, or they were doing like long tours. There were plenty of times during the day where we are walking alone.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of times.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is awesome.
Yeah, and I think that is
in the huts, what are they configured like? How many people would normally spend the night in a hut? How many could they hold?
Well, it varies because some huts are a lot bigger because they're more popular. And what do you think the max would be? Like, for example,
Lagazoy. Yeah, so some of the huts are stationed next to a gondola. So that can help for ski season, or it can just help for, people from Venice who had a party with all 30 grandkids in the room next to us. They didn't hike. They came up by the gondola to have a party with their family. Mm-hmm. So that hut was amazing. But I would say the huts that are really close to the gondolas are going to attract more of the just family reunions or whatnot. But so many of the huts we stayed at were really only accessible by a Jeep or by hiking. Mm-hmm. So it varies quite a lot. Like we're not necessarily like fancy at all, but I didn't want to carry a sleep sack and my own towel. And so that meant I chose huts that offered, dorm or private rooms, but they did give you the linens and the towels and whatnot. Now, there are some other huts along the way that were actually a little bit more popular because they were a little cheaper, and you had to bring your own sleep sack and your own towel. And maybe some of them didn't even have running water. So there's quite a variation.
Well, that's great. So
like some of them, like a small hotel type thing.
Kind of. I mean, I would not like a hotel. So it'd be definitely a mountain, look like a mountain lodge. And the first floor would usually be like a boot room. Like you'd go downstairs and you'd take off your boots, put on your slippers, and then go up to your room. And the rooms would be something like, 4-bed dormitory, 2-bedroom in one room, sometimes 8 beds in one kind of a dorm area, and usually some kind of shared bathroom because water is hard to get up in those remote locations.
Okay. So just a couple of rooms, sleeping rooms that hold multiple people.
Yeah. I would say generally they accommodate somewhere between 12 to maybe 20, 25 people.
Oh, so very small.
Yeah. Yeah.
There were like houses, big houses.
Like big house, like, you know, in German style, the big houses.
Sure.
Right.
And that's the other thing, like you're talking about languages, like this area is contested, right? So it used to be part of Austria, and then World War I happened and turned over to Italy. So the languages are German, Italian, and then like the local dialect.
Right.
Yeah, there was a lot of German in the huts.
Yeah, it feels very German.
Oh, well, that's pretty cool. I mean, we've been in the area. Is the state called Südtirol, or is that just the Austrian side? Or is it just called?
Yeah, I think it's called Südtirol. If you're speaking to someone who's German speaking, they'll call it Südtirol. And then, I think that's the most commonly referred to. I forget the name of the province I think part of the trail is part in Veneto, the Venice County, but then the other part is, I think, Trentino. So it's kind of funny. I was asked, it just depends, where you're at in the Dolomites. And it's so regional. It's crazy. Because you know how in Germany and Austria, like the sauna culture, it's like co-ed and you cannot wear a swimsuit. But then if you're in the Veneto part, if you happen to be in a huta or a refugio in the Veneto part, it's like, then you have to wear your swimsuit and you're not allowed to go. And so there's always this little dance with culture.
So both our daughters were born in Germany, and Germany is the love of our lives. So
in the system?
Well, in the military system, yeah. When they were born, they're quite a bit older than you. They're in their 30s. But when they were born, we were at Bitburg. And they were born in the same hospital room.
Oh,
yeah. A couple years apart. So Germany is our second home for sure. We miss it terribly. Terribly. Mm-hmm.
No, I like Germany because you can travel. I just think the people are kind of cold. And teachers are
Well, I think, you know what? I can agree with that. But living in many cultures around the world, I have found that Germany at least, I mean, you ask questions, people are friendly, that kind of thing, and they'll get to know you. And sometimes you can make friends with them. But in other cultures, they're like more friendly at the beginning, but you still can't make friends with them any better because you're just, I guess it's kind of a weird distinction. Do you know what I mean?
I guess, yeah, I get that. So like Germany is more long-term. So if you make a friend, then
exactly,
they're like valuable and they're like a real friend and you have like a really valuable relationship. But then, for example, in America, everyone's so friendly, but when you have a friend, it's not as valuable.
Well, I think it's easier to make friends perhaps to begin with, but they may not be as deep a friend. Yeah. Right. But some are, of course. I mean, you make great friends, I'm sure, everywhere. And that just takes time.
Well, have you met anybody hiking that you've kept in touch with, that you've made friends with? Or do you have that many relationship chances? Yeah.
I definitely have, but I've been on some long distance treks in Portugal and we're at the Camino de Santiago in Spain. And so I'm still in contact with people from both of those trips.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great. And anytime you can travel and really get to know either other travelers, we find that it's very easy to meet other travelers, but I also like it when you can commune with the locals. So being able to be quote unquote in their house that they've had for generations, that's another really cool thing too. That's a glimpse into a life that we Americans wouldn't necessarily ever get to see.
Yeah, I just remember when we were in Sicily and we went to Karen's house, and all her Italian friends came over. I thought it was so special that they came over and you got to see like they were dancing and drinking, and it was just so much fun. And it was so different from any other like culture. Like Germans would never do that, or Americans would never do that. And then you see the Italians are completely different from everyone else or any culture.
Mm-hmm.
I just top 10 favorite things.
Wow. I think you're really getting what you're supposed to get out of travel. That really makes me happy to hear you say things like that. So out of curiosity, Sage, what type of career or furthering in, what do you want to do when you're finished with school? I'm curious because you've got such a worldly view.
I want to go to university.
Mm-hmm. But you don't know what to study yet?
No, I don't know. I want to go to university, probably in Berlin. She's been to Berlin. I somehow have never been to Berlin, which is really...
we love Berlin.
We live in Germany for 6 years, and we've been everywhere else in Europe, but not Berlin for some reason. But you love it. And the way your description of Berlin was so nice. And I was like, that's just perfect. And I want to go to uni in Berlin because that would be super cool. I don't know what I want to study or what I want to do, but I definitely want to travel throughout my whole life. I never want to move to America.
No,
just when I'm older, but just because of like Europe and like the rest of the world. I've only ever lived in America for 4 years. How long did we?
Yeah, we were in Korea before we went to America.
So I don't know America, the United States that well, and going back would be kind of weird. And then I couldn't be in Europe, and I love Europe, and it would be so sad just because we wouldn't be able to travel as much.
Well, I have to tell you, my girls went through the same thing. And in fact, my youngest, when had the baby, she went to Texas for university. We were living in Korea when she was graduating from high school, after she graduated from high school. So both she and my older daughter did Hagwons for a while and sort of did University of Maryland for their first 2 years so that they could still live overseas because like you, that's what their love was. But eventually they went back to the States to finish their degrees. And one of the very first days, my daughter was taking a German class, and the instructor was trying to build backstory with the student. So he's like, what products do you use that might be German? And my daughter, she went, Ricola, just like that. And the entire class looked at her like, who is this weirdo? And they had no idea what she was referring to, of course, And it was like, but anybody should know what that little chant is. I mean, come on. Anyway, so I feel your pain. I can see exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah, I'm glad that my mom and dad don't want to move back to America either. And I'm really happy. Yeah, like a year ago, I was like, oh, I want to move back to America because of social media. I was all over social media and I was like, oh, everyone in America, they have such a good life, like blah, blah, blah. And then I realized, oh, wait, what's wrong? And I'm so glad we didn't move back to America when your contract ended.
I'm glad too. And so now we have more time to hike.
Yes.
That's right. And explore Europe, which is an amazing place. I agree with you. Yeah. You guys are living it up. I love it. So tell me, I've been waiting. Tell me all about the food at the huts. Like, what's been your favorite thing to eat there?
The tortellini. At, what's it called?
At Refugio Avero.
Avero, yeah.
So Refugio Avero is about 30 minutes walk above the Cinque Torri rock formation, which is a destination in and of itself. And it's right on the trail, which is super awesome. But this Refugio, it has a gondola, so it gets a lot of fresh supplies. And it's right underneath this giant stone, and it's so beautiful. And they have this like wild herb nuts and cheese ravioli that's handmade with like little tomatoes on top and it's gorgeous olive oil. And it's a 30-year-old recipe. They've been making it the same way for 30 years. It's ridiculous.
So good. It is. They give you 3, but that's enough. They're not even that big. They're really small, but they taste so good. And Mom, did you order or did I order it? I think you ordered it. And I had 1 and you had 2. And I immediately wanted to get like 15 million.
That sounds yummy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like really good quality and great service, which it's crazy because you're on the top of a mountain. It just kind of blows your mind. Like we're just not used to it. And it's not, I don't know, 12 euros or something for the dish.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then
crazy.
What was the other, the hut where the bunch of the cows in the lake?
Oh, Lavarella.
Yeah. At Lavarella, they had like super German Austrian food for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like Germany or Austria. When you got to the hut, it just looked like Austria because of all the cows.
Yeah. So the cows are walking on the porch.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the waiters and waitresses they all looked German. They didn't look none of the waiters or waitresses there looked Italian.
This is really hard to tell though,
Well, yeah, but like you can tell if they have like blonde hair and the Dirndl and all of that. They were German and they would speak German. They would speak German.
I think you really have to speak German and Italian in the Dolomites. You really need to do both. But.
Yeah, all of them. I was thinking about one, but
I like their breakfast because you get to choose which kind of fresh bread you want in the morning, like you order the night before.
What does that mean? Like, what are your choices?
So you could do like the little rolls of brochins, like you could get the multi-grain one or the white one, or you could get brioche. Then I think just like normal bread as well. So they're very important. Bread is so important to life, right? Didn't you have like a whole semester of like grain class in second grade?
Oh, yeah. No, throughout all of elementary, I was learning about grains. Getreide. I mean, of course.
Yeah.
We went out to the fields and we went to look at the different types of grain. And I just like ate grain all the time. Just raw. It's normal.
That's interesting. I took a class to one of those open air museums. And what we did was we went through the whole raising the grain process and then threshing the wheat and even pounding it and going to the mill, the whole deal. And then we made little like fried doughs to eat. It was a fantastic class. And of course, it was all in German as well.
Okay.
But it was fun. So I can see that. I mean, bread is important, and the Germans do it the best anyway.
I think so too. So do you typically order different items, or do you go to a hut and what they're serving is what you get?
Yeah, there's choices.
So at dinner, they give you a full-on menu, like at a restaurant, but a lot less options.
Right.
Typically, you can choose half board or full board. Meaning, so the half board would be similar to like a bed and breakfast. So you're paying for the night stay and breakfast, and it's almost always a buffet breakfast, pretty hearty and significant. And it depends on the hut or the refugio. But usually what happens is like the day hikers kind of are going off the mountain by around 5 or 6. And then the people who are staying in the huta, who are, hikers, they generally sit down at either 6:30 or 7 p.m. all together. And you have a communal kind of like pilgrim style meeting. So you'll have your appetizer course, and then they'll bring out the main course and then the dessert course. So some of the refugios would have just one option. But usually there'd be some kind of vegetarian option. And then the main thing. And it changes every night, and you don't really have that much choice in it. So they'll be like, tonight we're doing lasagna, but they'll have that vegetarian option for people who don't want meat.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And that's actually the second best dish. That vegetarian lasagna at Cinque Torre was ridiculous. And I love meat, but it was amazing. I don't know how they did it.
Yeah. And for the breakfast, you pick the stuff at night. You put a little X mark on. They would give you like a little paper and be like bread, eggs, milk, and you would kind of just pick what you wanted so that it wouldn't waste food.
Yeah.
Which was really good.
Yeah.
Sustainable.
Yeah, it's better not to waste.
They didn't have like the buffet thing. They did have the buffet, but they would bring you like the bread and the drinks, and then you would get other like small side stuff at the buffet. but they would also make
I
it work.
understand. That's a really good way. I agree. It's very sustainable, isn't it?
That's right.
Mhm. And there's always good coffee, which is very important to me.
Me too.
And good hot chocolate.
And good what? Hot chocolate?
Hot chocolate.
Always.
Well, that was one of the things that really stands out on your blog. So I think that I would have to really love that as well. I mean, the whole idea.
So
yeah, the dairy cows are walking around everywhere, so it's so local. I think even one of them, the Lavarella Huta, they have their own brewery. So they have their own line of beer there. So
Cool.
it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh, so the cows at the Lavarella were really nice, and they were up on the porch, but they were cows. They weren't bulls. So
Okay.
we went from there, and the one before it, there were bulls there. And I didn't think anything of it. I just went up to them because my uncle went up to them and was just like taking pictures and petting them. And later I went alone. I went out and I was petting the cows, and they were super nice. And then I went over to the bulls, and one of the bulls chased me across the whole field. How long was the field? It was a really wide, big field.
And it feels longer when a bull is chasing you.
Yes.
With its horns down. It put its horns down and it started chasing me because I just looked at its baby. I didn't even get close to its baby. I was looking at the baby. In the corner of my eye, I saw a bull head down chasing me.
With a bell on its neck, tinkling the whole time.
Ding, ding,
Yeah,
ding, ding,
I
ding.
was so scared. So I ran across the whole field. I ran back into the cabin. I was like, Mom, there's a bull chasing me. No one, and all your friends were like, you guys didn't even notice. I was like, yeah, Mom, there's a bull chasing me. And you're like, okay.
Obviously didn't catch you.
The bell.
It was massive. It was the pack leader, and it was black. It was scary. Because darker animals scare me.
Okay.
Well, it sounds scary to me. But I have to admit, I definitely was just like you. I would go and talk and pet all the cows and everything that I would find along the way. So I totally get you.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yes.
It is fun. And plus, I guess they're Austrian cows or Bavarian cows, those brown ones with the cute little ears. Oh my God, they're the most beautiful cows, aren't they?
Long eyelashes.
The long eyelashes are really
Yes. Oh.
And the mountain herbs, the grasses that they're eating, everything's wild, and they actually shepherd these cows from the high elevation where these hiking trails are, and then pull them down in September. I mean,
Have you been to the Alp trip?
We have not been to one.
Oh,
Good experience.
Canceled in the last couple of years because of COVID, but we need to go.
yes. Well, if you look at our website, we have a few that we can recommend. And that was one of our things we love doing. And we've done them in Switzerland, Austria, and Germany.
Nice.
Love them.
I never did one in Italy, but they do it in Italy too.
They do it in Italy as well. We didn't quite get
and
there.
Slovenia too.
Ooh.
We tried one year in Slovenia, but we got rained out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, it has to be with all this Omicron and COVID. It needs to all go away probably before they really bring them back. But it's a good way to commune with the local people. And typically with the places that we went, there were foreigners, but not very many usually.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the celebration of the farmers and ranchers, the people producing food, and the animal and the community. Like, it just makes so much sense. Like, I talked with a rancher in Southeast Oregon, and it's very tough business, right? And I was like, do you guys have a party at the end of the season where everyone comes down and you celebrate the cows? And he's like, no, we don't do that.
Poor cows. They deserve to be celebrated.
They really do, don't they?
And I think it would help the producers and people to connect, like, hey, this is we're working together with the animal. It's not just a one-way street.
It's not industrial.
Exactly.
It's just fantastic. And like you said, I mean, the ones that we went to always had things for sale, and it brought the whole community together. And they're just wonderful. I miss it so much. I highly recommend it. So will you be doing more of these? I mean, okay, so you've done the Altavia one. Do you plan, are there other ones in other parts of the Dolomites?
Yeah, there's quite a few. Now I'm feeling more comfortable now with my planning processes, and also just like confidence, because now we've gone with our whole family and some friends, other friends as well. And like even this year, Julia came, she's 11 when she did it as well. So now, because sometimes it's like, your own family, your own kids, but like, what is it like with other people? And so after this summer, this experience, like I feel a lot more comfortable, and I want to kind of develop some different places to explore as well, linking together the hutas or refugios, but maybe not on such a common path. Researching at the moment where we're going to go next summer. So
stay tuned on your blog.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we need to explore outside.
Exactly.
I'm kind of curious because you mentioned you could go half board or full board. So like what's a typical cost that you would pay?
Yeah, sure. So
it's included, right, in the room?
Yeah. For the full board, at some of the more luxurious ones, you'd expect to pay between 70 euros per person, maybe 80 if it's the fancy one that has the sauna. The more mid-level ones, you would probably expect to pay 60 per night per person.
For full board.
And that would include breakfast. Yeah, it's not, especially for what you're getting, the quality of the food that you're getting, and the location and just the experience of it's incredible. I can't believe it's that inexpensive.
Yeah.
But I also think that might be part of why they keep it family run, and they don't do booking.com, and they don't have like the big, like sales or whatnot. And you really do have to organize it yourself. They just want to kind of keep it moderate.
Yeah, that's really cool. Sounds like something that we definitely would love to do.
Absolutely.
You should.
Absolutely. What's that?
When are you guys planning on visiting?
Oh, well, my sister is still a dance teacher in Wiesbaden. So, and plus, of course, we have tons of friends there. And we lived in Germany many, many, many years. But I think that I would like to go and spend my 90 days in France one time and maybe 90 days in Spain one time. And as much as I love Germany, maybe Italy, as much as I love Germany, I'm sure I would go through there quite a bit. That's right. Always something to do. It's like I said, it's our second home, sort of. But we would want to expand out a little. So like in Germany, I would say we covered the country pretty well, living all the different places that we lived. And I was even in Netherlands for a couple of years. So we even did northern Germany from there. We really did. We've covered it. We'd like to do the same with other countries as well. And to answer your question, I'm hoping that things open up. I was hoping 2022, but now with these new strains, I don't know. We have to be very, very careful because my grandson he's less than 2. And so he can't even have any of the vaccinations yet. So we don't want to bring anything that might jeopardize his health, obviously. That's the most important thing to us right now. But we'll be back as soon as we can. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we just miss it so much. We miss traveling, being in Europe, like you said. We've also spent quite a bit of time in Asia too. And we love Asia. So once we get to travel again, and like right now, we're spending most of our time is devoted to our grandson. We do his primary child care. So once he gets back into school, I should say, and we have more time, we'll be.
And the pandemic's over.
Yeah. And hopefully it will be over by then.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, well, what about you guys? I mean, you said you're researching some lesser known places, which I think sounds good. Obviously, you don't mind the Spartanness of the different mountain huts as long as they have good food and a good bed at the end of the night.
Yeah. I'm not really, the wild camping is not my jam. Although I think that it's really cool. But if I'm going on vacation, I don't want it to be all work,
Right.
Well, I think for me, I wouldn't mind the camping bit. It's just the hauling bit. The in between.
Yeah, carrying everything on your back. So we always aim for our packs to be less than 20 pounds with water. So it's totally doable and it doesn't require a lot of special training, which makes it nice because then you enjoy it a little bit more. I had a trip planned for the Radican Alps in sort of bordering Switzerland and Austria, but I had a COVID exposure, so I needed to stay home and quarantine.
Sure.
So I'd like to repeat that, or what I'm researching is actually the Allgäuer Alps, which are really not that popular, where we went.
In Germany, there.
Yeah, they're not so. There's not a lot on the internet about it, and they actually there's a path called it's on the E5, which is one of these long distance paths through Europe, but it's I think 6 days, and it starts in Oberstdorf, Germany, and it goes across Austria and then ends in, I think, Murano, Italy. So yeah, it crosses like 3 countries in 5 days, and it's all by
wow. It's all what?
It's all serviced by the mountain huts. So
so one of the things, I guess a question I should have asked a long time ago is, what is the elevation? Are you dealing with any shortness of breath or anything like that? It's not that high.
No. We're staying under, I think the highest we got was 2,700 meters.
Okay.
So no,
well, that's still kind of high.
It is high. It's definitely high, but it's not to the point of having any oxygen problems.
Right.
Yeah, no.
No. Never rest.
Yeah, no, none of that kind of stuff. We're normal people. Yeah.
And you can refill your water at the huts each day?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can refill
So you're not carrying all that water weight for the whole trip?
Absolutely not. I carried 2 liters a day, and I always had leftover, and I'm just kind of I'd be over prepared with the water situation. But yeah, you get your water at the huts every day.
At the little cow stations.
And then there's always there's quite a lot of springs. So it's sort of a pipe, the spring water coming out of the mountain, and there's a trough underneath for the cows as they wander by to get a drink, or you can fill up your water bottles out of the pipe.
Do you have to filter that water, or can you drink it straight from the pipe?
You can
drink it straight from the pipe.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. That's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the best.
Yeah. It doesn't get too hot once you're up at elevation. You know how those valleys are, they get really hot in the summertime, but once you get up higher like that, it's nice. I felt like, you definitely need a hat for the sun and really good sunglasses and sunscreen for your face, but it wouldn't get it above 70 really.
Oh, so that is nice.
Mm-hmm. And then in the evenings, it's nice and cool and you enjoy having a nice, cozy comforter.
Do they have a fire or something in the hut?
I didn't see any fireplaces. Did you? I don't think so.
No, they just have heaters.
They have a lot of heaters. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, you take a couple hours to eat dinner because it's the 3 courses, and then people play cards.
That's the best part. It's always just playing cards at the end of the day. It's so much fun.
Really?
Or going out, and we went we jumped in the lake.
Yeah,
in the morning.
There's a lot of ice cold lakes, and so if your muscles are sore or you're maybe a little hungover from the night before, you can jump in the lake and refresh yourself before breakfast.
We have the lake club. We were supposed to get T-shirts, but someone that I don't know who was supposed to make them. I have no idea, but we were get T-shirts printed for us for the people that would get up at 6 a.m. and jump in the ice cold water.
Did you do it?
Yeah, I did it twice.
Wow.
She gets the T-shirt.
Only cool people, only people that would get up and do it deserve a T-shirt.
Yeah, we need to make that. Yeah,
I agree with that.
Call it Lake Club.
Yeah. Out of the 13 people that came with us this year, I think 6 did it, 7 did it.
And then you and I did it because we're gangsters.
That's amazing. Yeah. So you made a lot of fun along the way.
Yeah, it was fun.
And we picked up we kept seeing the same people, night after night. And so some of them joined the lake club too.
Some of them were one of our people that came with us.
Yeah.
We all met this dude, and he was a classmate of hers from high school, and they both went to high school in like somewhere in America. I have no idea, but she like randomly met him on the
trail in the trail.
Yeah, in the hut.
It's crazy.
That is amazing.
High school. Like, how coincidental is that?
Well, I have found that this is a very small world. Jim and I have run into people that you would not believe in the furthest reaches of nowhere.
Dude, yeah. Lately, yeah.
That's why it pays to be a nice person, right?
That's right.
It absolutely does. Well, we have had so much fun talking to you. I will direct people to your website. Is there anything else that you want people to know about you before we go? Either one of you? Instagrams or?
Oh yeah, well, we have Crave the Planet on Instagram, and our website cravetheplanet.com. And it's really, we're just sort of starting out and trying to figure out, like, it took me so long to plan this first time in the Altavia one, which is one of the more popular ones. And again, I didn't want to pay $600 per person just to get the plans. So I've been trying to document the long distance hikes that I've been going on, or that our family has been going on, and just kind of creating like a Google map so that people could download it themselves, so that they don't have to pay 600 euros for a plan. And then, just kind of spread the message that, you can do this sustainable and responsible travel to places that are not crowded with a million people, and you're just sort of adding to the problem. Because travel is so good. I mean, there is a carbon footprint with travel, but you can do it in a way that supports local communities, old traditions, like, bringing the cows off the mountains in the Alps. And hopefully my website will help people kind of learn that this is even a thing, because I don't think most people know about it.
All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of Streets and Eats. If you liked what you heard, please show us some love, hit the like button, and leave us a review. Maybe even subscribe so you don't miss any future podcasts. Also, we'd love it if you joined us on our Facebook private group, Streets and Eats, where we just have an ongoing conversation about all things travel. Ciao for now.